If you're a guy that's been struggling in many of your relationships and you've ever been told that you're a nice guy, then you're going to want to stay tuned because in today's video, I'm going to share with you the one behavior that can erode trust, intimacy, respect, and desire in your relationships. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kimberly Hill, and I'm a men's life, dating, and relationship coach. And I support good hearted men to find and attract deeply loving relationships. If you're new to my channel here, firstly, I want to welcome you and hope you enjoyed today's video, as well as encourage you to check out my other content. I have a podcast called The Self-Confidence Project, as well as my social media account over on Instagram at Kimberly Nina Hill. Now, what is this mysterious behavior that erodes trust, intimacy, respect, and desire? Well, it is being a pushover, or you could call it being a people pleaser. In today's video, I'm going to delve into the detrimental impact of this behavior on your relationships, help you understand where this behavior comes from, and we're going to explore an effective solution to begin overcoming this people-pleasing tendency so that you can begin to have the loving and authentic relationship you truly desire. Firstly, what is a pushover or a people pleaser? In this video, I'm going to use those terms interchangeably. It's a colloquial term that is used to describe someone who often will go to great lengths to satisfy and please other people, and usually it's at the expense of their own needs, desire, and well-being. Those that are people pleasers are very concerned with gaining the approval, validation, and affection of others, and they tend to be the types of individuals that will avoid conflict or avoid disagreement so that they can maintain harmonious relationships. They have a desire to be liked and to be helpful, but it often comes at the expense of their own boundaries, which lead to stress, to burnout, to resentment, and to unhappiness in the long run. So, what makes someone more likely to be a pushover or a people pleaser? I want to introduce you to a key concept that is discussed in a book by Pete Walker called Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. And in his book, he discusses what are called the 4F responses, which are instinctual reactions to trauma that individuals with post traumatic stress disorder, otherwise known as PTSD, might employ as coping mechanisms. These 4F responses stand for fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. In today's video, I'm going to be diving into the fawn response, which is a survival response that is characterized by people pleasing and seeking the approval and validation of others to avoid conflict or harm. If you find that you have a tendency to be a people pleaser, there's a chance that this fawning response has developed as a result of childhood trauma, particularly in situations where your emotional needs were neglected or invalidated. As a result of this, you may have learned to adapt by becoming overly compliant and by seeking safety through appeasement. This fawning response, albeit a common response to trauma, can be incredibly damaging in your relationships, especially because society imposes expectations on men to possess qualities like assertiveness, independence, and emotional stoicism. So if you're someone who has adopted a fawning response, you tend to be a bit of a people pleaser, especially the women. You may struggle to assert your needs and desires, and this can lead to the erosion of trust, intimacy, and desire amongst other elements of a relationship. Now, here's how people pleasing can erode the trust between you and your partner. If you have a tendency to be a people pleaser, then it is likely you are prioritizing your partner's needs above your own. However, this will lead to a lack of authenticity in the relationship because you're likely suppressing your true feelings, your true needs, and your true opinions to avoid conflict or rejection. And as a result, your partner is going to notice that you are actually insincere and, in fact, dishonest, which damages the trust between you two. Also, when you spend all of your time trying to please and accommodate your partner, it means that your actions are, in fact, inconsistent. This inconsistency can confuse your partner. It can lead to a sense of unpredictability, which makes it difficult to trust you, as trust is born from reliability. And when many of us have been raised to be conflict avoidant, if you are consistently avoiding addressing any issues or disagreements, it can lead to a buildup of unresolved tensions, resentment, and mistrust. So let's talk about how people pleasing can actually diminish your intimacy as well. Since true intimacy thrives on open communication, mutual understanding, and the ability to be vulnerable with each other, those that have developed the people pleasing tendency or fawning response may struggle to be open and vulnerable as they've learned to hide their true selves to avoid conflict or rejection. This is perceived by your partner as emotional detachment, which can lead to a diminished connection and diminished intimacy. And lastly, the fawning type will dwindle the element of desire within a relationship because if one partner is constantly subjugating their own desires to please their partner, it creates an unhealthy dynamic where one individual starts to feel like a caregiver rather than a romantic partner. So, fawning or this people pleasing diminishes the trust, intimacy, and desire in your relationship. So, what's one solution that we can examine to begin overcoming this people pleasing and fawning tendency? Now, by no means is this the only one solution or is the only thing that's going to change your behavior, but I encourage individuals that are struggling with this to reach out for individualized support. But one of the ways you can begin overcoming this fawning tendency is by learning how to set boundaries. If you can begin to establish healthy boundaries for your romantic relationships, they will help protect your own needs and your overall well being. Boundaries are your emotional, physical, and psychological limits that will help you define your own needs in regards to things like personal space, acceptable behavior when you're interacting with other people, as well as behaviors that help you maintain self respect and encourage your well being. Things like personal space, time together versus time alone, your values and your finances, physical touch limitations, and how people treat you are all examples of where you may need to set boundaries. For example, you may decide that you're spending too much of your weekends with your new date, and you're noticing that you haven't done anything for your self care recently. So you might wish to tighten up some of your boundaries around personal time. Or perhaps you're noticing that you're spending a lot of money on your relationship to try and please your partner. This is actually hurting your financial well being and causing you to feel really stressed. It's likely a conversation will need to be had about setting a limit or a budget about going out expenditure so you don't feel taken advantage of. It's likely that to determine your boundaries, you'll need to spend a little time reflecting on some of your past experiences across each one of these categories and think about any situation or interactions that might have led you to feel uncomfortable, stressed out, or even violated in some way. When you can gain the self awareness about things that have gone wrong in the past, it's going to help you with your understanding on how you need to alter some of these boundaries moving forward. Some really great questions to get you started is what level of physical touch am I comfortable with in various relationships? Are there certain emotions or experiences that I prefer to keep private? What are my limits when it comes to making commitments and taking on responsibility? What communication styles do I find respectful and comfortable? What are my core values, beliefs, and principles? What are my preferences regarding personal space and privacy in my living environment? What are my financial limits when it comes to sharing expenses and contributing to joint ventures and outings? And what are my comfort levels regarding sexual activities and intimacy in my romantic relationships? What expectations do I have for trust and loyalty in my partnership? And how do I prioritize self care in my daily life? As you begin to reflect on where your boundaries are, it will begin the process of helping you create healthier and more fulfilling relationships. No one person can sustain a relationship where their needs are not being met or their boundaries are being crossed. I hope this video has provided you some valuable insight into why people pleasing or the fawning type can cause detrimental consequences to your relationships. And this video has encouraged you to understand your own healthy boundaries. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment below on your experiences here, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one.